So, David, I can think of a few big past tech mergers: Facebook buying WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. What exactly is this task force going to do?
Well, they're going to look at potentially anti-competitive conduct by tech companies. And as you mentioned, one of the really interesting things that the FTC announced yesterday was this idea that they could go back and look at consummated deals, deals that either they investigated or didn't investigate at all, that closed, and the possibility that they could go back now and potentially break up companies or require a spinoff. And that, if that came to be, that would be a fairly radical move by the agency. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of criticism that some tech deals like Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, even a lot of Google deals, should not have been approved at the time, and turned out to give those companies a dominant position in their market.
So let's get the view from one of the critics. Matt, you've called this task force a joke. Why?
Well, look, it's a commission that is creating a task force to encourage cooperation among its bureaus, right? I mean, great job, guys. Do something, right? I mean, Facebook, since 2006 or 7, Facebook's bought over 70 companies. Google's bought over 200. The FTC hasn't challenged a single one. There were deceptive statements by Mark Zuckerberg during the WhatsApp acquisition when he said that they effectively wouldn't change the privacy terms for WhatsApp users. The FTC has been, quote unquote, investigating the Cambridge Analytica scandal for almost a year. No Wall Street investors ever ask Mark Zuckerberg about the FTC investigation, but they are perfectly happy to ask questions about European regulators. So this is really a crisis of legitimacy for the FTC. And rather than actually doing anything, they come out with a new seating chart.
For the record, I did ask Sheryl Sandberg about the FTC investigation. I didn't get much of an answer, but we have reported that the FTC is preparing a record fine. Now, will this be a drop in the bucket for Facebook? We don't know yet. David, what are the chances of the FTC actually taking action here, actually unwinding one of these previous and already completed acquisitions?
Well, based on the agency's track record, not just the FTC, but DOJ, that would be pretty radical. Both agencies, which they both share antitrust jurisdiction in the United States, are right now facing a lot of criticism from people like Matt and others that enforcement just has not been aggressive enough. And one of the reasons is they're too permissive on big mergers, allowing, in many cases, tech companies to buy potential rivals, buy up companies that are potential competitors. And I've never covered a case where an agency has gone back to undo a deal that's already been consummated. So I think this announcement has drawn some sort of cautious optimism from some quarters, but also some criticism that this is the kind of work that they should have been doing all along, and then there are some questions about why they need a task force to do something that they should have been doing in the first place.
Well, and on that note, Matt, for all the criticism, isn't this the agency doing something rather than doing nothing, as you argue they have been?
Really, no. I mean, this is a new seating chart. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. They need to actually police American markets as their mandates suggest they should. It really doesn't matter who sits where in the building.
I do want to ask you, Matt, about your organization's connections to George Soros. Of course, there's been much controversy about that. Soros has been a huge critic of Facebook, even to the extent that Sheryl Sandberg directed her staff to see if he had anything to gain financially or otherwise from these criticisms. Does he have anything to gain?
George Soros?
Yeah.
I have no I have no idea. We are a think tank. We take no money from for-profit corporations. We get foundation funding. I think that we had a grant from the Open Society institute. I don't think it was a big grant, but we've done work on monopoly for years. I don't know what George Soros's interests are. I mean, my sense is that I've read his speeches. He's concerned about totalitarianism in China and elsewhere. I don't know if that answers your question, but,
Well, it helps to address some of the concern. Before we go, just for the record, what are some of the big tech acquisitions that you think shouldn't have happened? We mentioned a couple by Facebook. There's Google buying Waze. There's Amazon buying Whole Foods. Whole Foods isn't really tech exclusively. But what are some deals that you think should have never been approved?
Well, I think there's two ways to understand this. So first of all, Google has 8 products with more than 1 billion users. Most of those are acquisitions. So yeah, that's Google, YouTube, Keyhole, Applied Semantics, DoubleClick, AdMob. You can go down and find their whole, the way they achieve market dominance in one sector and then monopolize all the plumbing in the ad market. All that needs to be broken apart. It can be broken apart just with a rule written by the FTC. I think for Facebook, you've got WhatsApp, Instagram, and then Anavo, and probably a whole bunch of other companies. They bought one from Microsoft to match, to do data targeting. But really what this is about is ensuring that our ad markets are fair and open. And right now, what these tech monopolists are doing is they are unfairly redirecting advertising money from publishers of content to themselves and manipulating the free flow of information online. And it's the FTC's job to make sure that that doesn't happen. So they have to do it.